Mr. President,
Democratic
I
leader.
ask unanimous consent the quorum be dispensed.
Without objection.
Now, Mr. President, 3 weeks ago, a small number of U.S. Special Forces were working with our Syrian Kurdish partners to conduct operations against ISIS and hold more than 10,000 detainees, many of them hardened ISIS fighters. It was a product of half a decade of hard work by American and coalition forces and the Kurds to degrade ISIS, to put them on the run, stabilize a post-conflict region. Today, only 3 weeks later, as American troops continue their withdrawal from our bases in northern Syria at the President's orders, President Putin and President Erdogan have announced a plan to establish Russian and Turkish control of a region that was once patrolled by American and Kurdish forces. Our partners, the Syrian Kurds, have been killed and wounded in Erdogan's invasion and forced to leave their homes in droves. And most importantly, the upper hand we once held over ISIS has been eroded. We don't know how many ISIS detainees have escaped from detention facilities or where they've gone, and there seems to be no articulable plan on how to get them back. In the blink of an eye, President Trump has undone over 5 years of progress against the Islamic State. 3 weeks after first announcing the troop withdrawal, the President does not seem to have a clear strategy for securing the enduring defeat of ISIS and fixing the mess he's created in Syria. Secretary of State Pompeo does not have a clear strategy. Secretary of Defense Esper does not have a clear strategy. Every day, it seems like we're going in a completely different direction. One day, reports indicate the administration was considering a residual force in eastern Syria. The next report says the administration planned to target ISIS from Iraq. The next minute, reports said Iraq won't allow our forces to do that. What is the strategy here? America's security is at risk. ISIS is dangerous. ISIS is escaping. How will the administration continue to bring the fight to ISIS? What will the President do to prevent Russian and Turkish aggression and the potential slaughter of our allies and friends, the Kurds? When will the administration present its strategy to Congress? We need answers to these questions right away. But shockingly, the administration's top officials, Secretary of State Pompeo, Secretary of Defense Esper, have now canceled 2 scheduled briefings with the Senate, and there's no new time on the calendar. Secretary of State Pompeo apparently had time to speak to the Heritage Foundation yesterday, which is 4 blocks away from the Capitol, but he doesn't have time to come to Congress, not even to brief us on Syria. Secretary Pompeo is derelict in his duty. He has an obligation to come here. It's not a question of timing. He spoke 4 blocks away at the Heritage Foundation. He's ducking. We need answers. And if they don't have answers, we need. It's too dangerous for America to sit here and do nothing, to run and hide, as Secretary Pompeo is now doing. Today, Senate Democrats are holding a special caucus to hear from Brett McGurk, the former government envoy in charge of countering ISIS under both Presidents Obama and Trump. While I expect Mr. McGurk's presentation to be helpful to our caucus, it does not replace the need for the Trump administration and its officials to come to Congress and explain their strategy. And at the same time, we should send a message to the President that both parties oppose his policy in Syria. The House has passed such a resolution on an overwhelming bipartisan vote, including Republican leaders like Leader McCarthy, Representative Scalise, Representative Cheney. I have asked the Senate twice now to take up the House resolution, only to be blocked by a single Republican member. I continue to believe the quickest and most powerful way to convince the President that he's on the wrong track is for Congress to put a bipartisan joint resolution on his desk saying so. That's what the House resolution does, and the Senate should take it up and pass it. We all know that it's hard to shake the President from his thoughts and ideas, even when they're creating such disaster. His ego is enormous. But the one thing that can do it is our Republican colleagues joining us in a resolution that reaches his desk. When Republican colleagues criticized him about Withdrawal, he backed off. It's the only thing that can get him to change, and America's at risk. Why aren't our Republican colleagues stepping forward? Do they care more about protecting President Trump than protecting America? I hope not. I yield the floor.